Bring this into frame here. And so there you are. You've just gotten a doozy of an information overload. Elena doesn't know what to do with all this. And you're orbiting Audrima. You're not quite at Mectora at this time. And have been boarded by a quadrupod, a Leo, a quad of mech. They're still at your disposal to ask questions if you have any more questions. But aside from that, it's kind of a open space. What do you want to do?
I think one discussion we were having was basically observing a pulse from here, and then of course the variance on that. Right.
Yeah, actually, let me start with that. That's a great, not necessarily point or reminder, but reminds me. So you had put down 3 different suggestions. You wanted to experience a pulse in Audrima, experience a pulse while your consciousness was in the infraworld, which is achieved according to crew and some first-hand experiences from the Raza, the commanders, by falling asleep within the infra zone, so to speak, within the large area or small area, depending on if it's a a small condenser or not, that is considered the portal created by the condenser. And the third idea was to experience a pulse while physically in the infraworld, which is achieved by walking through the portal created, the actual plane of the portal created by a physical functioning condenser.
Was actually, now that I think about it, was Bird, or let me see, Bird is the system, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Anyways, wasn't the Raza there during the previous pulse? That's technically in the Everworld, right?
The Raza was yes, the Raza was in Bird system during the previous pulse. Last you heard, all Raza Galactic Mandate and Council of March ships have been staying outside of the infraworld zone, the infraworld
Gotcha.
area.
That's probably a smart idea.
Yeah. There was also a request for information. Aura, you had asked for very specific information about the planet, its rotation, its distance from the sun, all that. To which I said, I'm not going to write all that down, but I will certainly let crew conduct a search for matching information.
Yeah, the other. Yeah, that keep going. You clearly have more. We'll come back to that.
Okay. Well, I have more, but that's all lodged firmly in memory. Is there something you wanted to add or ask?
So, I mean, the clear sort of imperative here is that we try to get best way to put this. We try to get the best information possible to the people who can do something with it, because there's only so much time left in the whole situation, right?
Okay.
So how do we get a Raza science team sort of embedded in this system?
Well, a couple of options available to you would be to return to Zentra, report to Alyssa, and hope that she makes an executive decision to move science staff and personnel from the base on Kamiago, or go to Bird, where the command crew of Raza, the command staff of Raza, are currently orbiting, and make your appeal to them. There's always a third option. You could just go to Kamiago and abduct the science team that you want out here.
Well, I mean, that obviously makes the most sense and is definitely what we should do. But
Of course.
some people might think otherwise, but they're mistaken.
I mean, what's it going to matter? By the time that they catch us, it's going to be 8,000 years ago.
Well, no, hold on now. Okay, so in an absolute sense, how much longer do we have? Because it's clear we could do the math and find that much out at this point, right?
Yeah, you've got what is it? About 9 months there. Yeah, about 9 months. Well, 9 months until things are supposed to go poof. 8 months if you want time to act on whatever information you get.
Less than that, isn't it?
I'm just doing 9 times 30.
But it's not 9 times 30. It's
9 times
it's
28
7.
something.
Yeah, you're welcome to do the math. I'm just
It's
using
7.
the simple mathematician's trick of rounding things off.
But it's not 9 is what I'm saying. It's 7.
Oh,
That's right, there's already been-
I
yeah.
am being dumb. Yeah, okay.
It's like 6.5 months.
Yes, yeah. So for realism, realistic expectations, you'd go with 6 times 30. You've got about 6 months, giving you time to act on whatever you find.
If you consider a month to be a Mectorian day.
Yeah, okay. So we have 6 months.
And unfortunately, that's given the absence of rudders and transit times and what have you. I mean, if we try to go anywhere, we're going to spend most of that time in M space.
Right.
Now,
Unless we can figure out how to get our ship fitted real quick with the infodrive.
Hmm?
I don't suppose we haven't really had any word on that yet, right? Because this was a
no word on that yet.
that mission. Okay. That would certainly allow some faster scrambling, so to speak. But also, I don't know if that's actually available for our ship or just for the Raza. I'm not really certain how that fits into anything that we'll be able to do.
Now I'm going to go ahead and return to the Star Search and have someone on your crew make a this would be a pilot or program check.
Not no?
Connor?
I would allow a no for this, just for the advanced kind of procedural information background, assuming that there's some math in whatever the person who has no studied. Or analysis.
Sorry, did you say program?
Uh-huh.
I did very recently take program. I could make a try.
Well, you
Okay.
said someone on the crew. Are there NPCs who would be better?
someone
at
on
that?
the crew.
Crew or PC.
I mean,
Crew or
we're
team,
on the
yeah.
crew. Kind of. In a
Yeah.
roundabout way.
This would be an intelligence check, going about it in any way.
Yeah, I can do int no or int program reasonably well on Azio, but can we do better than a +2? I feel like we should be able to do better than +2.
I mean, Oogie's technically +3 in int no, but his no is all social sciences and law. It wouldn't fit fictional positioning for him to do it.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, if you're combining efforts from multiple characters, I don't mind someone I wouldn't mind Oogie with his kind of gap in knowledge there, being assisted by somebody who has that knowledge. And
I would assume Christina's our best bet.
Christina was, I believe, arts and history, so she is similar in
Aptitudes, let's call it Togi.
Yeah, I would say she's around the same area as Oogie with a lower bonus, so Oogie would still be a better bet than her.
Okay, and Asta maybe? No, probably not.
No. And where is your bonus at there, Nox? The programming side?
Program 0 +2 int.
Okay, so you gotta go. You guys have a couple of options. And for this, well, actually, for this and any check, really, there's no harm in multiple people assisting. So you guys decide how you want to approach it with who's doing what, and we won't make any one character a primary character like in the fiction. It will be a group and team effort, um, and we'll just use the person that has the highest bonus for that primary role for the group effort. And because I've given you a whole slate of NPCs who could possibly help, I am going to limit the number of assists to 3, or assist attempts to 3.
All right. Well, I think my +3 makes me the primary in the mechanics.
Mhm.
So I'll roll that now.
Wait until I've got the assists, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so I can add them to my modifier.
Right, and for the suspense.
Good
'Cause
music for suspense.
Yeah, if you rolled it now and you rolled a 3, then it's, there's no point in the assists rolling. So yeah, we'll have Amaya roll with program, Izya can roll with no. Who else wants to contribute to this? And this, just to refresh, is the question of are there other systems out there that match the exact specifications of what you're seeing here between Audrima and Mektora?
I mean, so do we have a copy of all the other systems? If so, we just go with the manpower method, which is employ kids, see if they can match up numbers for a maths game. Child labour's never been so great.
Oh, well, you got rid of all the freed slaves. They're
Yeah,
all...
I know. I'm sad. My child labour is gone.
Your child labor is gone. Well, if nobody else has an idea there, then someone go ahead and give me a roll from Christy. She is acting as pilot right now, and it's a good choice.
I've got that if nobody else does. If I can remember how.
Yeah, go for it.
I always forget. Shift.
Yep, shift double click.
There we go. Character sheet.
Do it.
Are we saying that this is a skill at which?
Yeah, she's proficient. All proficient here. Alright, so this is kind of new skills that Amaya is putting to use. Nox, do you want to give us a little narrative of what Amaya is contributing here?
I don't really know. Sorry, I'm a bit fried right now.
Okay, no worries. Aura, aside from just being a generally knowledgeable person, what's Izya bringing to this table?
So Izzy, as we all know, has been extremely focused on, aliens for some time now, and trying to research where the signal is coming from and all of that type of thing. He's basically just cross-referencing with stuff he already checked.
Okay. And Christy, for her part, is now, while she's not contributing direct advanced learning and education in math and astronomy and astrophysics, she does have a very organized educator's mindset, and can quickly help to organize and rule out, or not rule out, but push aside methods of inquiry that just aren't terribly helpful. Now, all this said, this should be something that's easy for the computer to just do. If there were an exact match out there, then, it would be very simple for the computer to
Well,
just
so
press a button.
we're probably not looking just for exact matches, but for what are effectively harmonic matches, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So
And-
assuming that
Oh, go ahead.
assuming that this day has a fixed period and yada yada, something with twice that period could conceivably be related, and so on and so forth.
And Oogie, pressure's on.
But do I get +3 to this roll? Is that right?
You get
Or
plus
+1 because
Yeah.
at least one of those succeeded.
1. Yeah.
Dun 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 dun.
Oh no.
Well, it's good we got you the +1.
Yeah, that's how these things happen. Oogie's looking over this overwhelming mass of data that the other people have supplied,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to assume that is a mediocre roll at best.
That is a mediocre roll at best.
Yeah.
I do tend to follow, except in unusual circumstances, I do tend to follow the evens, 6, 8, 10, and 12, and 14 sometimes. So that gets a 6.
So here's the thing, guys. I'm looking through all this data that's pouring in here, and it ain't like there's no patterns to be found. I could find 5 or 6 or 10 patterns. I can find any pattern you want. I mean, there's just so many abundance of data here that there really ain't nothing that stands out.
Right. So what you're saying is we've got too much information?
No, just nothing that makes a clear one-to-one pattern. And Oogie starts throwing up graphs. Look, this one matches, that one matches. They match in different ways, but I mean, I can make this data say anything you want it to say.
Well, it just means we
didn't
don't
know
have
you were
good enough data yet.
And this is from Christy, or maybe we need to focus our parameters more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, if there were a couple good filters, I could figure something better out. And so there's a question for you, Dexter.
Mhm.
Given what I've narrated here, if that's acceptable to you, would we be able to use that 6 to say if one or more of these patterns were valid, could we determine what data would allow us to better filter them?
Let me tell you what I was going to do first, and then you can tell me if you want to take a different approach, or if you'd like a different mechanical approach. I was in a slight difference of the rules. I was taking those aid checks as a little bit more impactful than just a +1. The ultimate writing check is yours, but those other rolls were high enough that I was basically going to just have you guys keep working at this and eventually come to an answer. It's just taking more time. So
Of which we
I
have
guess
little.
what I'm saying is that
Well,
mechanically, I was going to let that roll succeeds, but you don't know when you'll have the information. If you would prefer, sorry, I got myself off train of thought. Basically, taking it out of the foreground of the roleplay of the session. If you would rather spend time in roleplay and in game actively trying to discover this and play out scenes with different NPCs that move towards that, I'd be happy with that also. I still made it very jumbled. Your options are leave this role as it is and move on and do other things in game to come back to this role later, or keep this role, leave this role as it is, and spend time now to improve and get to the results. It's still later, but you're actively working towards it. Does that make more sense?
It could be the focus of the session or not.
Yeah. It wouldn't be the whole session, just to for those who are concerned about taking a whole session. But it would take more time. Session time. What do you guys think? Do you want to talk about other things and come back to this, or do you want to talk about this and get an answer?
Well, what else have we got on our plate?
I guess it's mainly deciding whether you want to involve Raza, and whether you want to experience a pulse here, independent of any findings you come to with this role.
Also, we could go and try and kidnap a man and see what happens when he dies.
What? Kidnapping and killing someone is new information. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, Yeah, the person who keeps dying, then like he respawns, quote unquote, somewhere else, but more and more crazy.
Oh, right. Right. You could go back to. You could definitely fly back to. Here we go. Kamiago and.
I just want to must have a clones or like some weird psychic shit. One's a lot more interesting than the other.
So I don't want to spend too long on the decision of how you're going to reach this information.
All right, I vote we go grab the Raza and bring it into the system. That's my vote.
Let's do a
What are they going to do here that we can't?
Let's do a quick vote on who wants to get this information in character in game now, or get it passively later. So, let's see. And box yourselves. I've labeled boxes now and passive. I'm gonna move you three out because I don't know if you
was like, wait
intended
a
to
second,
be there.
yeah. No, I had moved it all. I'm kind of on the
Okay.
passive train.
Okay. Then, essentially, Talera, what you suggested is what your characters can continue doing. It's just that they're doing that in the background. Christy certainly is going to help continue helping to narrow this down, and bringing other crew in is going to become more of a whole effort.
So, kind of as an aside here, and related to the difficulty we were having with this question, and this is, I regret that I didn't bring this up in the discussion between sessions. The revelations of the last session have kind of thrown me for a turn. Now I don't know what it is we're supposed to be trying to accomplish.
Nothing and everything. Nothing, because there's nothing we can do. But all we can do is try to prepare the next set of people that come along.
And
So nothing and everything. Hence why I didn't want to say this now, but Marcus wants to, before the last pulse, go in the black hole to die to see what happens.
okay. So
I'm a
basically,
Scooty Puff Jr.
basically
Yes,
what
yes.
Ben said. And this leads into some of the discussion I wanted to have at the end, but I don't mind putting it out in front of you now. This being the end of the campaign, however long it takes to get there, I'm taking us off the mission rails, and basically opening the sandbox back up to you guys. I mean, it was always open before, but there were all kinds of in-universe, authority constraints and all that. But this is an opportunity for you guys to say, no, we want to help free the people of Gun from their tyranny so they can live in peace for a few days before the world ends. Or we want to spend time at home with loved ones and make things, this becomes, how do you want to approach the end of the world?
Yeah, I guess, like, I presumably, really information gathering would, I guess it depends on, what is our goal?
Yeah.
Do you want to, it seems unlikely we'll be able to stop it up, but I guess, technically we could also try to, desperately try to do what we can to stop the cycle from repeating, ineffective as that may be.
I mean, the problem with stopping the cycle is that in theory, then the Vega plan goes on unimpeded.
Right, presumably that this cycle exists as some sort of defense mechanism, which is our main theory.
6 months is not a short time. There's a lot we should be able to get done. It's just a question of what we want to prioritize.
Where at and where.
So, Dexter, yeah, that's a question, because it's hard for me with all of the time that gets crunched into metaspace travel.
Mm-hmm.
How long has this campaign progressed in, in universe time?
How much time? Yeah, like in universe time has passed since we started.
That's a question. Let me see if.
Because that's context for how much can we accomplish in 6 months.
It's usually a few weeks per jump. It's usually 7-10 days between each jump.
It depends on the drive speeds and
the
the distance and stuff like that.
Improved your drive, so you can take that as a metric. That it takes you 2 days for each hex. Dang, I did not put the date on that first one. Okay, let me look at one of my other sources here.
Because let's say on average we spent, 5... Because it was, a week for a short, and 2-3 weeks for a medium. So just need to work out how many we've done. That's excluding travel time. And then
Right, and that's the
travel time.
That's the problem, is travel time becomes a significant factor here.
Yeah, it's essentially chop away, for every mission you do, chop away half a month, for what happens basically. Because you're most probably going to be getting rid of maybe 15 to 20 days just in travel time.
I actually have a little bit closer a metric for you. The first news that I served out to you was October 1, 3251. And it's now middle of April. So it's been about 6 months already.
Okay, so the entire campaign up to this point has been about 6 months.
About 6 months. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's not a small amount of time. I agree.
Yeah. And like we said, or like I said earlier, the first part of that was with a Drive 2. You now have a Drive 3, and depending on if you go that direction, you might be able to either get on board the Raza or use the Raza with its Drive 6.
And theoretically the Infodrive.
And theoretically the Infodrive if they've done anything with it.
This campaign can go on a whole year if we really push it.
I don't think it can because Aura and Ben have made other plans. And I wouldn't want to do that to them, but yeah, in game time, your characters still can get a lot done. We'll condense some of that.
Speaking of condensing, how much space do we have to move information over? Could we, on a theoretical, I guess, move knowledge of how the infodrive works to the next cycle?
That's a possibility if that knowledge has been uncovered, recorded, basically reversed. If Raza has done that or does that before you deposit this information, yeah, that's something that you know what, let me make this a much clearer answer. The mech are not going to put any limit on how much data they'll take from you.
Oh, I thought they would allow one storage device. That was the information that you had said. One data drive or something, one data slab worth of information.
I don't recall such limits.
We're getting a little bit of background noise from you, Nox.
Yeah, give me a sec.
Okay, no worries. I don't remember that, but if I said or implied that, then I will say that I was wrong to do so. There's no reason why they would have why they would place a limit. You know, data is fairly small, condensed. Data storage unit, which can conceivably hold all the information from a big megacorp. Well, maybe not all of it across, you know, from like a planetary megacorp, is 3 encumbrance. Even if they devoted an entire warehouse to data that you gave to them, it really wouldn't impact them at all. The only stipulation that they have placed is that the information that you give to them, of course they're gonna, you know, look at it, but also they're only going to pass it on in the next cycle in association to the Raza, which,
Yeah.
you know, might be a concern for the characters, but considering that that's the campaign I'm running, that works for the players. Unless the next group says we're going to change all of our associations and not be the Raza.
Let's ditch this crappy old ship.
And I imagine they'd hold that through more cycles if that came to it.
Yeah, depending on what happens in the next cycle. There's no reason why they couldn't.
Who was it that had the theory that that maybe somewhere else it's also remembering the loops?
That was me.
Someone mentioned that. Okay.
Well, that's what we're studying for. That's what the role.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. I knew that. So I guess our goal is just to bank what knowledge we can here, right? Going forward.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to imagine not at least keeping that open as a contingency plan at this point. We don't know we've failed, but we suspect we may. So,
yeah. Well, we need to figure out, like, I guess, what, how the loop. I don't know.
I mean, it's all you're doing is you're helping yourself in the future. So if you can see this is just.
But it's even us. It was so far out, right? And really, the only reason our characters are involved is because of the path of the Raza, right?
I mean, it's one of them. We
Yeah,
can either
that's-
take the view of everything's predetermined and everything will follow the same path, unless something goes out of its way to change it, or everything's
Well,
totally
this-
random. We just ended up here by mistake.
I guess on a matter of perspective, for each of the player characters, barring Gizia, who joined a little bit later, all of us have only been, I will say, alive as far as having active memories for 6 months. So this next 6 months is just the second half of our lives, as far as we know.
That's very true.
In a way, yeah.
I feel like that's one way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of perspective, I feel, changes the way that we have about things.
Also, Marcus views it as he lived a life before and he chose he didn't want that life anymore, so he wanted this one to do better, and if he can do better, he'll do it.
But it's much shorter than you might have expected.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them. I already gave up on the previous life. This was just a bonus life. If you can do something to help the next people that comes along, why not?
Works
I mean, why else would your character give up on the life they were having if not for imperfect conditions? If so, why not try to improve those conditions?
So presumably, this really, I guess, sets the whole Vega invasion thing kind of on the back burner.
I mean, it's one of them. We can just let it happen to understand it better and to see if it has any effect on what this is here.
Right. It's
Whether
more
that
something.
be,
It's more something now. The priority is to observe how that progresses.
yeah, is this made by an entity that wants to stop the Vega? Is this the Vega but a different subset of Vega, such as what we saw on the other planet?
They have the different factions.
Because it's one of them. The Vega think everything's predetermined and everything happens for a purpose.
So if there is one piece of information that I think could be vitally important to the next season of the campaign, it would be, understanding the purpose of this mechanism here. We suppose that it triggered in response to Bird becoming subsumed, or not Bird. Bird was the system.
Yeah, it's like, is it a certain population count? Is it a certain planet count? Is it a key planet that triggers it? Like, we don't know.
Right. So understanding, gathering information to understand the nature of this time loop, and contextualize. I mean, we can assume that it has something to do with the Vega and their invasion plans, but gathering intelligence to understand that part more concretely.
All we really have is that it coincided with that subsumption.
I mean, it's one of them. Have you ever played the game Deathloop?
Not Deathloop, but I mean, I've played multiple time loop games.
Yeah, it's all about understanding where everything happens and what happens if things are ignored, and if you act on certain things, what I'll say the consequences or pros are. So I mean, as long as we can understand what's the critical point that triggers this event.
Yeah.
Obviously, we
the problem is it's such a long loop. It doesn't give you much opportunity for trial and error.
Oh no, but all we can do is gather the information we've got, so that way the next ones don't repeat it. Because rather than them waiting 6 months to find an answer to something, we can try to give them that answer now. Because that might give them better odds. Such as, instead of it getting to April, it might end up to June, where the next trigger occurs. I mean, that's all we're really hoping for, is just to keep delaying until an answer is found.
I don't know if this will help or muddle things, but there was also a question of, do the Vega know? And one of you mentioned last session that you do have a Vega that you can ask.
Yeah, Marcus did want to ask Crew at some point to see what his experience / view is, albeit he is outside of the norm. It would be good input anyway. Because I am right in remembering that it's like one version of the Vega believe that everything is predetermined for a reason, or something like that. Like there's no choice; it's just that's what happens.
Yeah, the way that they put it is that they do the things that they do because those are the things that must be done.
Yeah, it's like pretty much I must follow in these footsteps because these are my footsteps.
And yeah, Riley is willing to relay for crew. But as soon as she realizes the depth of the questions that she's going to be having to interpret, well, as soon as her and crew, excuse me, realize that, she says, crew says this might be easier if you can talk through someone.
Oh, go for it.
Who?
Me.
Go for it.
He can't possess you.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
vacant.
that's right.
Oh yeah, true.
We need that.
Wait. What happens if we go grab one of the Wait. Can crew access memories I forget?
Not really.
Okay. I was just gonna say, if we can try and persuade one of those down on the city below, where they've got all of the humans and actually other people down there, we could see if what they think lines up with what we've been told. But hey, we just need a volunteer, basically.
You got a bunch of NPCs that aren't vacant. How do you want to broach this with them, or do you? It is also a possibility to try and let Riley stumble through, but it's not a direct communication between her and crew. She's gotten good at it, but she is essentially still trying to interpret whatever he tells her, however he tells her, into human words.
I know who I want to do it.
Home.
I think Ashanti should do it. Oral traditions storytelling. This is a person who has experience translating abstract concept into vivid, concrete imagery.
I'll buy that.
I'm also kind of curious, actually, if the Mector can be possessed.
I bet they're not.
Maybe they are.
You can ask. I'm just telling you how I think it'll come out.
I just feel like it's I think it's a perfectly valid question. We need answers.
It's perfectly cromulent.
Yeah.
Do you want to ask them?
I mean, as we're having this discuss, I mean, are they in the room while we're discussing this?
No, you guys are off discussing privately.
That's boring.
You guys have discussed too much kind of private plan information for me to say, oh yeah, everyone heard you're planning to blow up the planet.
Well, I mean, I'm all for asking them out of curiosity.
I will, however, let me backtrack on that. If you want that to be the scene, discussing this while they're there, I could see someone just being like, hey, what if we ask them while you're walking through the galley and they're sitting there eating?
I mean, Marcus is the one who would do that, not gonna lie.
Let's go with that. You know what? They've been on your ship. They're kind of enjoying some food that's not Mectoran food, and they're fielding questions. Asta is right there. Asta's enthralled with them, and you're on your way to the lab where you think Shanti or someone else. You haven't decided on someone yet. But As you're walking through the galley, what does Marcus or Archibald blurt out?
So, who wants to volunteer and get a week off?
Wait, we get a week
This
off?
won't. I mean, this
Oh, wait,
won't
no, I guess-
involve any administration of drugs. I can promise you that.
um. Well, Sonny looks over.
If you're wanting to involve administration of drugs, I can also make that work.
No, I want the week off, but I can't.
Well, you can't take a week off. Why not?
Well, I'm the doctor here when you're off gallivanting on some planet.
You're the perfect person for this, then. Thanks for
What?
volunteering.
I'm not volunteering for anything.
Oh, what do you mean? You just said you'd be the perfect person.
No, that's not what I said. What are you up to, Marcus?
You want the truth?
Sunny rolls her eyes. You can't handle the truth. Then
Okay.
she stares at him.
So what we want to do is get crew to possess you so we can ask crew questions about the nature of the universe and what happens when it resets to get a better understanding of how the Vega respond to it, to understanding if everything is predetermined and therefore everything we do is meaningless in life, or if there is meaning in life with the fact that we can make decisions for ourselves that affect the outcome of the future. I don't know, resets.
So,
Is-
there are two sets of eyes that share similar emotions as Marcus, spills all this. Sunny's eyes, slowly rise, just the eyebrows, and only one. The other stays firmly planted and unimpressed. It's not quite a rock eyebrow, but it is a stepping stone to Hartman's eyebrows, which are slowly rising, both of them, as her eyes widen and her lips curl into a smile. Possessed by an alien?
I know, imagine that thrill.
Yeah, how did you not see this coming?
See, why do you think I did this method?
Now, while we're talking about that, anyone think can the Mectora be possessed?
I mean, that's what I was wanting to know as well. See if we can access their memories, but who knows?
I mean,
So anyway,
I know Ass is all for it, but
so
Wow.
who wants to so-called volunteer?
The planet is Mectora. The people are Mech.
right, I knew that.
Well, Hartman definitely volunteers. Was the conversation about wondering if the mech can be possessed, was that in character?
Marcus was curious, yeah.
Okay, so that was in character. The mech look at the group of you with some interest, some intrigue. And Ezekiel speaks again. What is this about being possessed?
Right, so do you know what Vega are? Or what we referenced them?
We know what you have told us of Vega.
Right, so you know they can, like, possess people? I'm curious if the reason why you or this system was chosen or made is because you can't be possessed, therefore you'd be the perfect bastions to protect this place and the information that you obviously possess. Does that make sense? If you are the one thing they cannot touch, then it would make perfect sense for why you would be the ones to remember everything.
One of the females, Seraph, I would volunteer.
We've got
then-
two volunteers.
Both Ezekiel and Seraph say at the same time, but it will have to be apart from Audrima.
Interesting.
They all look at each other and share a very brief conversation in their language, those of you that have a diplomat and understand all the languages of the world can make out from tone and certain word choices that you're hearing that they're expressing some concern for Seraph, and her connectedness through group and encompassing gestures. But then Ezekiel looks over, and we would return to Mectora, and Seraph can stay with you. You will want to fly farther from Mectora before you do this.
Like out, or just the edge?
He gives you a distance that oh, actually, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Let me backtrack a little bit. He does not say you would have to fly farther out. He says that you're already far enough from Mectora, but you would need to be well outside of the upper high Earth, yeah, high Earth orbit of Mectora. When you did this, in the case that you dropped them back off at Mectora. So he goes into more detail than is necessary, like I did.
So just fly away a little bit.
Yeah. Right now, you're far enough away from Mectora that the only Audrima here, and they go into a little bit more explanation, I guess, is the group of them. They are Audrima right now. They're disconnected from Mectora.
I mean, that'd be a curious question I've got, which is, if you were possessed, does that possess all of you? Is that what you're trying to avoid?
We don't know what would happen.
Okay, but are you willing to experiment?
Are they linked? Like,
I mean, they must share some common, I'll say, conscience or thought process, and therefore,
yeah, like
maybe
what's
they
their
want to distance
range?
themselves.
There's a pretty logical inference here that there's an effective limit to their telepathy, we'll call it.
Yeah.
Based on distance.
So was one or two of them going? That's just the one.
Just one.
Just one of them coming with us.
Okay. I mean, I guess that's still worth testing.
Better than
It'd
nothing.
be more interesting if there were like two that were still linked. But I guess that's something we can broach later.
Yeah, they're not willing to go further than one, at least in initial testing.
Yeah.
And to shed some light on their research process, they are very slow.
Yep. Well, I mean, they're willing to take their time. They're just...
Yeah.
We might be in a bit more of a hurry, but I guess we've got 6 months to burn through, so we're not in that much of a hurry either. Since, assuming we're not desperately trying to stop it.
So yeah, if you would like to do that, then the ship can begin making preparations to. I guess you don't actually even need to go to Mectora. That was way too much information on my part. You can just return 3 of them to their ship, and they will travel away from you.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot simpler.
That's a lot simpler than taking them to their planet. Yeah. I forgot they came here on a ship.
Well, it doesn't give us an excuse to go to their planet, which is too bad, but
And yeah, if you want to do that, then they will set that in motion. That will leave you with only Seraph on the ship.
That does remind me, if we don't have how close can a ship without atmospheric configuration actually approach a planet, anyways?
You can get an orbit.
Can they get like low orbit, or?
For a cruiser, probably not. You'd have to stay pretty high in orbit.
Could the cruiser even approach close enough to be in their telepathy range? Is kind of what I'm wondering. Not that it really matters.
Well, the straight up answer to that is yeah, just slightly. There's
might just be some extra fuel.
Is that what you guys want to do?
I don't one speaking against it.
I guess the most immediate question is, do you have anything else that you want to ask while there's a collective of them on your ship before three of them part?
Yes and no. Yes, I do, but I don't know
Okay.
until after I've talked to the Vega then.
Okay. Well, theoretically, they will meet back up with you in
Wait. I want to try something.
Okay.
I want to ask each of them their favourite colour, favourite food, favourite month, favourite time of the day. Do they come back with the same response? Or do they vary?
They vary.
Okay.
Do they have favorites? Like, do they express like sincere sounding answers to those questions, or is it just kind of a weird question for them?
It's not a weird question. It is. Roll me a either wisdom, wisdom charisma. Yeah. Talk wisdom or wisdom notice. I would also accept a lead here if anyone would prefer that, and I'll let anybody roll on this.
I'm the one who asked, so I will.
I shall assist you.
I will wisdom notice. You said, right?
Oh wow, yeah.
I assist you, Mr. Oogie.
Yeah. So anyone that wants to roll can go ahead and roll, or to assist.
Did I hear
This-
wisdom notice?
Yeah, this is a difficulty 10. It's a fairly difficult thing to suss out, but so far you're all flying through it. It's a weird question because it seems like they have to think about the question itself, not what their favorite thing is, but just the idea of having a favorite. But once they've given that some thought, what they like best, then they are able to say that their favorite color is red or blue. And what kind of opens the gateway for this is that in Marcus fashion, I imagine, with kind of rapid fire questions, they all are able to very quickly identify that the food that they've just eaten is their favorite food. And that's what opens the door to them kind of understanding the idea of the question or the idea of having a favorite.
We make hella good food compared to these people. I like it. They just have nutrient paste every day.
You definitely make different food than they've eaten.
Did they get sauce in it? Hot sauce? If
Oh,
not,
of
Marcus will
course.
offer them. Okay, I was going to say, if not, Marcus would offer them hot sauce.
You have Ivan as a chef. Of course it's hot.
Yeah.
What a silly question.
So, just
I so wish I was a bio-scion.
just a little insight into them. They don't think about what their individual personal preferences are. It's a conscious effort to come up with that information.
I mean, mood. I don't think about my favorites either.
That's an interesting thought. All right. They return to their ship, or the three of them return to their ship, leaving you with Seraph only. In the process, Riley has been giving Hartman some instructions on what it's going to feel like being possessed, how to receive crew, and just kind of baby's first possession primer, or idiot's guide to being possessed. whichever of those you like.
Being possessed cliff notes.
I imagine that Asta, with anime stars in her eyes, is like sitting there vibrating with excitement, and she at some point utters the phrase, "My body is ready."
My body is a vessel.
Yeah, let's go with that. Let's just set that up. Where are you? No. 1 second here. There we go. Yeah. So the other three are on their ship. Seraph is with you, and Hartman is prepared to be possessed. Riley in the room, and assuming you guys give the go-ahead for the procedure to initiate.
Yeah, make sure she's there ready, and then just like, well, whenever you're ready, crew. And the rest of the crew, I guess.
You oh, and of course Sunny has set up monitoring and electrodes and all that good stuff.
Oh, she's been sensible.
Yeah, she is being sensible. She's being too sensible. A white ball of light floats out from Riley and enters Hartman. You guys have seen people be possessed before, and you recognize the sudden rigidity of Hartman's body, but then she relaxes.
So, what are you doing, crew?
In Hartman's voice, it has been a long time since I have inhabited a foreign body.
Well, I'll give you a moment to adjust, and then let us know when you're ready.
Hartman sits up and looks around. This is intense. It's like... it's warm. She blushes a little. I'm trying to avoid sexual references here. But it's just a warmth filling me.
Well, I mean, I suppose that's how you get the body on your side, is make it feel good. Make it feel like, there's nothing wrong.
It's comfortable. She looks over at Riley. Is this how you feel all the time? Riley kind of shrugs and nods a little bit.
So what you're saying is we've got a mini space heater. Love it.
I feel invincible.
And that's where it gets dangerous. So, crew.
Yes.
Let's start with the simple stuff. For your beliefs, and for the Vega belief, is everything predetermined, and that you're simply filling in the footsteps of what was done previous? And in that same vein, are you aware that everything was done previous, or is it just something you feel?
Free Vega do not do things because they have been done before. They do things that must be done.
Right. So and to the second question, do you Vega know about what's called the reset, or the, turning back of time?
I have only lived... that I can remember. I have lived since Riley's... before Riley's planet was subsumed.
And
For reference, that's something around 700 to 800 years ago. I don't remember exactly how long ago, but it was pre-Scream, and when the Terran Mandate was still in the process of building a jump gate out in Onalau.
Okay. And what do you know of the oldest of your kind?
The oldest of my kind never leave the infraworld. It
And
is here in what you call real space that Vega become other than Vega.
so, back in your world, would you put a number or a feel on how long they have existed for? How many cycles of yourself have been?
It is hard to say. Time has less meaning in the infraworld.
Okay, but do you match it with generations then? You know, I'll say birthing periods of you.
There are no births. Vega are.
So then that pulls me back to the first kind of dealio, where it's like, so your first memories are of you and Riley, correct?
No, my first memories are of Riley's ancestors.
Right.
I am
And then,
a generational.
you're a generational.
Yes.
In more context. As in, you've possessed everyone in Riley's family before that?
Yes.
So before your first possession, did you exist at that point, or was it only after your first possession did you exist?
I did exist in the infraworld.
Good. So you remember being there. So then what's your first memory of being there?
I don't.
But
And
you believe
to
you existed.
let me jump in here. At any point, if this is getting frustrating or circular, let me know, and I will let the conversation fast forward and give you the highlights. But to the last question, crew answers yes. Possession of humans or living with a host, it changes Vega. This much you know. Perception of time and of space, of being limited, is learned as if a newborn. I've been a newborn. It's not pleasant.
So, what do you feel when the pulses happen? Do you feel the pulses?
No.
So you don't feel the pulses.
It's correct.
How long can you exist out of a host again? I forget.
If not attached, seconds.
Okay. That'd be something to try. To see what you feel outside of a pulse. Well, during a pulse, when outside of a host.
I cannot
But
be
that'd be up to
separated
you.
from Riley.
Oh, I know that.
Hartman's posture becomes a little bit more defensive. Then explain yourself.
Well, my thinking was, I wonder if the pulse is just like a signal, but you're not aware of it. And as such, if you were disconnected from a host during a transition period,
I cannot be disconnected from Riley without killing her or me.
no, but I mean, because obviously you possess Hartman right now. Not
I'm
so much disconnection, but the what do you call it? The transition. When
Even without possessing another human, I can float around in your real space, but I'm still connected to Riley.
True. I guess my wording wasn't well, but yeah, no. It's just like, what would you feel when you're outside? Because obviously you're always on the inside.
Yeah, well, I am sorry for becoming defensive then.
I wasn't wanting you to like harm Riley.
I
Definitely
would
not my
not.
intention. Good.
If I understand your question, you mean to ask, if I float outside Riley during a pulse, what will I feel?
Basically, yeah. That's what I'm wondering.
It
If
is
you were
worth
directly
asking.
exposed.
I do not think anything would change, but we can experiment.
I mean, who knows? It's like we didn't know if we could drill or not until the first person did it.
Those paying attention to Riley, Riley's less enthusiastic about this. Her body language is becoming scared.
So, does anyone have any more questions for crew here? Well, so far we've learned that they don't deem things to be predetermined, but it's just what must be done. So therefore there must be a greater plan in place, or it's just all instinct, whereupon maybe they've done this before and it just feels natural to do so. Such as if you always, go to grab a drink and then one day your arm is cut off, you'll still go to grab a drink with your dominant arm and realize it's not there. Instinct is hard to get rid of, especially after 3 resets and however many hundreds of years.
You
You
feel
also
that?
know that he can't remember anything that happens during the time in their space, but that it exists and there are things there.
So Oogie is in fact paying attention to Riley, although he doesn't interrupt. He does give her a little nudge and mouths "Don't worry" to her.
Okay. She takes
Crew.
some comfort in that.
So, crew, is there anything you want to, I'll say, tell us or, I don't know, discuss? Or anything you want to raise? Or even do?
This
Like,
reset of time phenomenon. It seems impossible.
oh yeah, it goes against the very nature of, everything. But
yes. And time is a concept I learned in Possession of Human. I remember that. That is not something that I felt before I possessed Riley's ancestor. And how can something that is a construct of the human mind be your language does not have words in it. if I don't remember what time is from the infraworld, how can time be something that can be reset?
I mean, what we know about black holes is that once you get close to them, time is perceived differently. True or false? Because I know that's what we believe as current scientists. Is that what we believe in this game?
GM says yes.
Yay.
Except that Hartman strikes a pondering pose. But the infraworld is described as all matter and no matter. All points and no points.
Oh, antimatter. I mean, what do you think? Well, I'll say this to everyone now. I'm planning to go out on the last, pulse. I want to be thrown into a black hole.
That would destroy your frail human body.
Yeah, but it'd be fun.
Oogie punches Marcus on the shoulder. I imagine there's a few people who might want to do the throwing.
Exactly. I mean, but think of it this way, though, right? I'm not really dying, it's just this version of me's dying, and the next one, well, I don't know. Do whatever it is they do. But this version of me will either get to experience what's on the other end of a black hole, or die. Either way, doesn't affect me. Because the next me won't even know.
Riley shudders. There are some other grim countenances throughout the room at this idea. Let's take this outside of the scene for a moment. Is there any other information that you want to ask crew? Any other information you want to see if crew is able to answer?
I mean, there's something that Oogie's player wants to know, but I don't think I could reasonably have Oogie phrase the question.
Well, put the question out, and it's we've got a gallery of NPCs that can have a thought, and
So one possible definition of time is the direction in which entropy increases. And so there is actually a measurable thing that you can correlate with the passage of time in the forward direction. And I kind of want to know, is there entropy in the infraworld? Is there any indication that separates, that distinguishes, one experience from another? Is there entropic force in the infraworld?
that is a very interesting question. Do any of the before I assign that to an NPC, because I can't think of one who would ask that. Are there any PCs that want to have that thought and put it forth?
We've got a bounty hunter, a junkie, an art dealer, a cowboy, and a mechanic. Amaya, I think this is on you. If any other PCs is going to think of that question, it's you.
Nope, no knocks.
I'm
there
mute
they
and
are.
I also missed the question.
Is ponderings of time and entropy something that you think that Amaya would bring up in character? Or rather,
I don't-
pondering the measurement of time as as with entropy as a metric.
That might get us somewhere. Just the existential ponderings aren't really Amaya's thing, but yeah, if we can reduce it all to a graph, thinking about how that might be done, might be a thing that Amaya can come up with.
Okay. Um, it doesn't have to be a Maya. I'm just offering it to you guys. To have the PCs put a spotlight on their minds first, if you like. But I don't want to force anything. This question will get answered.
Then I would say let it get answered. I don't know.
Okay. Well,
I'm
sorry, you may have broken up just a little bit there. Can you repeat that?
no, I kind of stalled mid thought.
Oh, okay. Well, how about this? It's Hartman's the one that I imagine may have chased crazy theories and come into that kind of armchair expert analysis of time and entropy and gotten that idea. Um, and so maybe if Hartman kind of puts out the basics of it, do you think it would be in character for Maya to flesh it out with a little bit more technical jargon?
Yeah.
Okay. So the combination of them then, uh, bringing the question back to how Tulare put it, is shed some light, pun definitely intended, because there is no entropy in the infraworld, according to Crew. The infraworld is at its hang on. I Remind me, is entropy high energy or low energy? Which is high entropy?
High entropy is frozen, complete it is
Okay,
maximal disorder, and
that's
therefore the least usable energy.
right. That is what I thought. I wanted to be certain before continuing. Yes, there is no entropy in the infraworld, as impossible as that may be. Um, in that there is no disorder. Everything is where it should be, and there is also nothing everywhere. Um, it's not terribly clear how Hartman's lips form the words given by Crew, or how Crew makes Hartman say it, but it is all kinds of physics impossibilities. The whole it is all points or all matter in one point and as well as nothing is the best way that Crew can really describe it. But to put a little bit of a period on that, no, there's no entropy in the infraworld and no change in entropy in the infraworld.
So we couldn't like cause entropy by, I don't know, lighting a match, turning on a flashlight and measuring the battery.
No, because as Jai experienced in the infraworld, um, energy didn't really work there. Um, and it may be relevant that the light you see coming from the infraworld is never measured by any kind of mechanical measurement devices. Let me get to my what is the infraworld section here.
isn't the Everworld nowadays?
Right?
So another related question, understanding the nature of the infraworld and its entities. When our infraworld scanner detects infraworld activity, what is it searching for? I mean, is it searching for something that, some known physical phenomenon, or is it, calibrated for some particles that, apart from the infraworld, literally don't exist?
I hesitate to use the word particles, because
But
my
phenomenon,
yeah,
frequencies, vibrations.
it's searching for something that in physical science doesn't exist. There's no mathematical models for uh, what Zoe's detector detects. Um,
So all indications here are pointing to the infraworld getting new agey here, being a spiritual realm. It is not a physical realm.
uh, yes, and some science has trod that line, or treaded, trod. I think it's trod. Has trod that line in going so far as to call the entities of the infraworld spirits.
And I'm even going to the point where you don't even have to be mystical about it to reach that conclusion, because it's a realm without physical substance by all indications, and yet which nonetheless has mentalities.
Mm-hmm. I am going to put into chat here. Um, Something that Crew says through Hartman, and is quoting what he calls the Jody.
Ah, yes, the Jody.
The Jody, yes. Um, Formatting. Of course, this has to be formatted right.
Well, we're here. Having no entropy means that having no entropy and having energy not work means that we couldn't so much as light a candle in the infraworld. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Ice wouldn't melt. People could not move because that takes energy.
Yeah.
How did Jai leave? Didn't he slip into the infraworld for a moment?
He did. Science can't explain how he was physically moving about in there and how he left.
Presumably something with our psyche. Hmm.
It's sort of like the end of Evangelion. Your mind creates an AT field which holds together your corporality.
I haven't seen Evangelion.
It's like 20 good episodes and then 6 incredibly freaking weird episodes.
Look, who needs to understand?
Although I've heard that the remake is at least somewhat more coherent through the entire series.
I'll give it a watch. I guess tomorrow. I have free time tomorrow.
Mhm.
But I mean, yeah, maybe that entropy can be introduced to the system.
Or just
Um,
localized, that you can potentially have a matter entity existing inside of this immaterial space, at least for a brief time.
We have to make a meat factory. It's the only way.
Now, to add to that, keep in mind that the infraworld that Jai described was violent and stormy and sepia. Um, the infraworld described by crew is and actually your crew, your commanders, when Zoe and others on the Raza slipped into the infraworld, which is what they did according to crew. They experienced a beautiful, dream-like place. Very different from what Jai experienced when he physically entered the infraworld.
But the others entered in a dream state.
Yeah. The others slept on Onalau and were warned that they might slip into the infraworld in their sleep. They were also warned that they might never leave the infraworld if they slipped in and well, stayed there. This matches up very much with what some of those on Xandar were saying, that they would sleep and slip away.
Well,
Zero.
go on.
Nope, go for it.
Well, at least we've got some questions from crew. I'm curious to see what happens when crew tries, to possess Seraph right now. Anyone else ready for that question to be answered, or have we got some more questions for crew?
Hartman speaks at this point and says, if you come up with questions for crew later, I'll be possessed again.
No doubt about it.
You guys do not have to limit your questions for crew to right now. Hartman
Is
will
this addictive?
readily volunteer.
If crew consents at this point, though.
Does Archibald ask that if it's addictive?
Yeah, sure.
And Hartman looks at him with a sparkle, anime sparkle, and intensity in her eyes. It is fantastic.
And to think, a pleasure we'll never know.
Oogie crosses his arms and he looks a little bit miffed at what Hartman is saying. All right, then I got another question for crew. Crew, how do you feel about possessing a human different than Riley?
You see Hartman stiffen just a little bit. Normally, stiffening is the sign that it is the entity with imperfect control of the human body taking control. They seem to have ended at a very good equilibrium, because that little stiffening is barely noticeable, but it's there. And as Hartman Crew says, this one's eagerness is welcome, but I will always be at home with Riley.
Is it safe to assume we don't notice that stiffening at all when Crew is speaking through Riley?
Crew never speaks through Riley.
Oh, that's right. He always lets her
Derp.
interpret.
I don't think I'm overstepping what you guys have already learned to say that Crew can't actually control Riley. Crew lives in Riley but cannot possess her.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Ah, okay. I think the characters have learned that either the Raza crew, or the current crew, but either way, it's information that's floating around and could leap back into Oogie's mind if you want it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's the kind of thing where somebody who is completely incapable of being possessed could easily forget the nuances of.
Definitely, yeah.
Hey, Riley, and Oogie is going to be paying close attention to her body language and mannerisms as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because before we switch to Seraph, Riley might need some time with Crew again. Does it feel any different to you when Crew's doing this?
A little bit. It's okay when he's still close, but he's Cruz had to possess other people and walk them away, and it's like I'm being tugged.
Tugged?
Yeah, like I wanted to follow him, but I knew I couldn't
Where did you
because
wanted to follow him?
to Crew.
Hold that thought for a second, because I think in a few minutes we're gonna have Crew hop back to you for a second. I want to see something. Can we turn the infraworld scanners on the interior of the ship?
Mm-hmm.
That's part of their job, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's reasonable. You've also got handheld. They're built into your survey scanners.
Okay.
So either way, you can achieve it.
I want to know if we can see this bond between Riley and Crew, and see if it changes when Crew switches around. Have we ever done that experiment before? Could this be a useful little bit of data to add to the infraworld scanner detection system? I think so.
I guess. Yeah, Riley agrees to it, and Hartman certainly agrees to it.
All right, so we'll just keep that around, for whenever we're done talking to Crew. Give Crew and Riley a little bit of a break before we try to have Crew hop on over to Seraph.
Okay. We can unless there's any other questions, we'll go ahead and say that happens. Hartman returns to her duties, and then immediately asks Elena to fill her shift for her. Not immediately, within a few minutes. Maybe 5-10 minutes after she returns to her duties, she has asked Elena to give her some time. And one of your red shirts steps up and is willing to take on an extra half shift on Hartman's behalf, so that Hartman can attend to whatever she needs to attend. Riley and Crew just kind of, they don't look like they do anything special. Riley just kind of does what she's been doing. Actually, hangs out with Park and plays some video games with them.
Does the transition period when Crew departs from Asta and fully reunites with Riley, does that create a discernible signal in the infraworld scanners?
It does not. Does not. There is a change. There is data to be collected here. When Hartman was possessed by Crew, there's I'll put it this way, there is data that if analyzed and worked out could possibly lead to improving the scanners so that a possessed person is not only identified but a link leading back to the home host, if there is a home host. Does that make sense?
That we could trace the path that the
Yes. Yeah.
entity followed from one host to the other.
Yeah, that's a much easier way of saying it, and broadens it up so that it doesn't so it's not limited to just entities who have a home host. Yes, improvements could be made to the infraworld scanners so that you could not only see a possessed host, but also where a Vega jumped from one host to another, like a little silver cord.
Hey, that sounds like astral projection.
What?
Now, do they die if you sever the cord?
That's actually very strongly implied.
I was actually going to say, that's actually a good question. It seems logical, doesn't it?
I mean, I've been thinking that, but I've been like, nah, that's wrong numbers. It's not like D&D.
They kind of do, right? If that cord is not able to find a terminus, the Vega
Wait.
dies.
Has the Infraworld always just been the astral plane?
No, not at all. What?
It is now.
I may have drawn some inspiration from my 20 years of D&D.
That's logical. That seems like a fair influence on the idea.
Yeah. I would say
You mean
that
you didn't completely generate a bespoke game system for this one idea?
I would say that I did it for the familiarity of language more than anything else, because it was already similar, and I'm like, okay, well, people recognize what silver cord means, usually. But yeah, that was intentional.
Familiar concept.
We are at 1 o'clock. Do you want to take that break now, or do you want to keep rolling and talk to Seraph while possessed by Crew?
Got more questions, just need to think of them.
Okay. Well, then why don't we take that break? And you guys can refill coffee, water, unfill coffee, water, do whatever you need to do over the next 15 minutes. And if you happen to come up with any other questions for Crew, either possessing Hartman or Seraph, we'll get to them in a few minutes. All right, let's go ahead and go back in frame. And we can jump straight over to Riley has had her rest and playtime, and is a little bit grumpier, but is ready for to experiment with the possession of Seraph. Seraph, by the way, in the meantime, has been taking a tour of your ship. Um, Guided and escorted, of course, but has been interested in the human artifacts that you have, the movie and video game posters that some people have, the music that's coming out of some rooms, the different tasting foods and spices of Ivan, um, and is just kind of. Uh, I mean, Seraph is exploring a new culture. Seraph is in a living museum right now and is enjoying that. But comes when called to be possessed.
I actually have a question about that.
Okay.
Separate from her collective, does she seem different? Does she seem like she acts more independently? Does she act more emotional and anything like that?
Yes to all.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, as part of the collective, it was subtle, but Oogie is good at reading people. As part of the collective, they all were more in sync. They weren't, perfectly in sync with each other, except for that one time when two of them spoke at the same time. But there were similarities in what they observed, what they looked at, what they were interested in. And there was also kind of a calmer effect to them. Parted from that collective, small as it was. Seraph is more animated and more individual.
It's interesting, Seraph. You that collective thing you've got going on. I mean, I don't pretend like I can understand what it feels like, but you're very clearly the most curious of the four of y'all. That's why you volunteered, ain't it?
Well, I'm the youngest. I'm only 138.
So young.
I have centuries before my. Oh crap! I forgot the name. And she says something in her own language.
Is it something that would roughly translate to age of majority?
No, it's something that roughly translates to age of death.
Okay.
She finds the words for it and then calls it the quiet journey.
Oogie whistles. Heck, I'm only in my 20s, and I figure I ain't gonna make it as long as 138. I mean, time loop shenanigans notwithstanding.
How long would you live?
What is? I mean, Kamiega's probably below
I
100,
mean,
right?
back on my home planet and the conditions in which I was born, 60 would have been old.
It's it's a child. I mean,
I mean, we don't got nearly the same advanced tech, but even the oldest, like the landlords and the folks what can afford proper medicine and what have you, I don't know, 120
I mean,
maybe.
You're already more than twice as old as I am.
how do you accomplish anything in such short lives?
We try to make it up with enthusiasm.
I can see that. There was one room I passed by. Someone was just screaming and pounding on the walls.
Do we have any prisoners?
No.
It was Asta's room.
No. She goes on to describe what is basically just heavy metal.
Oh.
Oh, I thought that Asta was having some extremely enthusiastic me time.
No.
That or withdrawal symptoms already. Told you it was addictive.
So,
Yeah.
no,
Good.
never mind.
No, go ahead. I was going to segue us on to the next bit if nobody had anything else. Go ahead. Oh, all right.
No.
Okay. Seraph continues to chatter as you are going back to the med bay. Seraph does not accept Sunny's medical administrations, but will at least sit in the chair and allow any non-intrusive scans to be run while she's being possessed.
The chair is in the medical equipment, or the chair?
The chair is in medical equipment. Unless Ben tries to, not Ben, Marcus tries to assist on the chair. The chair.
The chair.
Barring that, Seraph is set up, and Sunny is making do with non-intrusive scanning and monitoring stuff. And Riley and crew stand by. You see the same similar wafting of slightly blue tinted but otherwise fairly bright white light out from Riley and over to Seraph. It doesn't appear to be any more resistance to that than what you saw happen with Hartman. And Seraph does go stiff. We're assuming that Seraph also got the same kind of instruction on how to receive crew as well. And a lot of that comes down to just accept, don't fight, don't try and tense up, stuff like that. Seraph relaxes a little bit. Sits up. This is strange, but not unfamiliar.
That crew speaking, or?
No, it is me, Seraph. And she looks over at the crew. Sensation is not terribly different from being connected to larger collectives of mech. A sense of unity, of connectedness. And Rue, you can see Seraph tense up a little bit, and as a signal that crew is now speaking through her, says, "This human body has very has different structure, but sorry, this human body has different structure, but the mind pathways necessary for me to possess something are the same. And this is going to go very much like the possession with Hartman, so unless there's anything you specifically want to play out in character, let me just push right into what questions do you have for the union of Seraph and crew? No?
Are there any actual new things
Well-
to actually ask?
Yeah. Now that we've got one of the mech alone, this is the time to find out about the stuff on the surface they won't let us go to. Whatever answer we get will be individualized.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe rude to ask, but you know.
And they're so young and naive.
Well, and also alone, and presumably
Yeah.
much more persuadable at that point.
Yeah. Well, what are those questions? You want me to lay down a breakdown of how Seraph's experience is different from Hartman's first off? Or is that relevant to you?
In the least mean way I can possibly mean it, much of what we have found out this session has been irrelevant to me.
Okay.
Everybody else wants to know. Let's find out. But I'm not the guy to answer that question.
I don't have anything specific. So I mean, yeah, I'm really interested in how is it different.
Well, all right. Through Seraph and crew, some differences are that crew can sense a resistance. And crew speculates that were Seraph connected to Audrima, as they call it, that he would be unable to possess any one of them.
So similar to essentially Izya's not being able to
Mhm.
connect.
You can extrapolate from that Izya may have more luck intruding on Seraph's mind while she is out here. Um, and Crew doesn't have like a biological or a biologist knowledge of human body, but can still tell that there are confirm that there are genetic differences that you guys already pretty much knew that, but Crew says that this body is much sturdier.
Okay, basically stuff we knew.
On Seraph's side, the differences are that Crew is providing a similar sensation to what she already experiences as part of Audrima. It is familiar and comforting.
Just some of the same mechanisms.
If she were out alone without Audrima, she would want a Vega companion. Aside from that, there aren't too many differences. Um, sounds like most of your questions here don't need Seraph to be possessed by Crew, and they're just kind of questions for Seraph then, right?
Seems like.
I mean, unless Izia hoped to use the possession to enforce compliance.
No, hoped to is definitely the wrong verb.
Expects to? No.
Yeah, I'm curious, what is the right verb there?
Is willing to, but it seems like I'm the only one who'd want to do it. And
yeah, I
that's
feel like
fine.
that'd be. I feel like, yeah, I mean, it's all fine and dandy, except that then you have a whole diplomatic incident with, the hive mind planet.
Right, the one
presumably.
that we're counting on to
Yeah.
let those of you who are continuing on to the next game have more stuff when you get there. Yeah, wouldn't want to mess
Chip.
that up.
I do want to play in your favor as a GM here. Telepathic contact doesn't let the person know that you're doing it.
Yeah,
There's-
I can't get deep enough for it to matter because I am lower level than everybody else and have not got telepathic contact 3.
So what
right.
you're saying is we should do some more missions, level up, and come back and do this again.
That's definitely one way to approach the situation. Currently, I am useless, so not a lot I can do for you here.
I mean, if there's questions you want answered,
There aren't.
well, I thought you. Okay, I guess I'm confused. I thought there were things you wanted to know here that were different from what we were asking.
This is your opportunity to talk to a mech by themselves about the machinery on their planet that is driving the time loop. Either you want to take it, or you don't.
All right. Well, sounds like Seraph and Crew has spent some quality time, and then Crew turns back over to Riley. Seraph is starting to long for reconnection to Audrima around this time, and would like to be returned to her ship.
Yeah, I mean, my interest was solely in whether, what differences there were, resistance to possession. So those have been answered. I can't really think of any other questions. I don't really feel like, grilling them heavily because they've been fairly, I don't know. There's not much more that I'm looking out of the mech.
Seraph is willing to answer questions as far as she, as far as information that she might have about Mectora.
Actually, I do have, out of curiosity as to whether there's something with their physiology versus their, the planet. Because they've had people from outside the system live on the planet go through the time loop, right?
Yes, they have.
Okay, and those people are unaffected. Or
Those people
keep
are
their
unaffected.
memories. Okay. So it is most likely an element of the planet.
As best Seraph understands it, it's an element of the system. As long as they stay within a certain range of Audrima, the star, then everything within that range persists. We've hit a quiet lull here, so I'm gonna fill that with Christy has called Izya and Oogie, well, the mission team, over to the bridge. Sonny and various crew will attend to Seraph, make sure that she's comfortable and attended while on her way back to her ship.
All right. Well, if we've been summoned, I will attend.
Bridge. Oh, Christy. Oh, there is a bridge. It's right up there. So I'll put this back to hello. You don't actually have to move your tokens.
I was gonna say there's a bunch of NPC photographs in the way.
Yeah, no, that's fine. In fact, I can remove those if you guys want, if you've seen them enough.
Just verify which one of these four is Seraph.
This one.
Okay, thank you.
The top are the adults that you've seen. I.
Although, didn't you say Seraph was young?
Seraph is young for Audrima, yeah, but she's closer to this. I guess she should be in between the two. She'd be about right here if those two photos are a scale. But yeah, the lower picture is the teenage, so to speak, of Audrima. Let's here, I'll leave those two on, or just move them aside like this. There we go. Christy brings up a system that you guys haven't heard of. You may have seen it on the star maps, but it's not been a location of interest so far. And says that from Izya's narrowing down and help there, and some other filters that were recommended and suggested, she came upon a stranger periodical than she was expecting. She points to I don't know if you guys all have sectors without number open, or if you'd like me to move to the map page in Roll20.
You should probably move to the map page.
I can do that.
That said, I do often pull up sections without number. But yeah, map page is good.
Oh. Over here at Tiamat 77-7.
Uh-huh.
Christy
Oh.
says that the previous the commanders, the crew of the Raza, had found a signal at Firatinero, the ship that had the black ships are coming scrawled all over it in telekinetic ink, that gave a cyclical metaspace period of 28 point blah 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 days. It turns out to be 28 days, 6 hours, 42 minutes, and 12 seconds.
And that's whenever you can access. You can actually go there, right?
That's yep. 3 days, for about 3 days within that cycle, Tiamat 77-7 can be safely navigated through metaspace. The system is it's similar to Audrima in that it is a single planet orbiting it's a black hole in Tiamat 77-7, but it seems like it would be around the same mass. Now, this was difficult to find because the Raza wasn't in Tiamat 77-7 for very long, and when they were, most of the ship's functions were dedicated to not getting swarmed by Union ships as they strafed a massive shipyard building hundreds of Union ships. So they didn't have as precise a measurement of the orbital period of that planet as you do just hanging out here in Audrima without Union shouting at you. But it's within the same range. The projections, the computer projections, put it in like it could be anywhere from 24 to 30 days. It's something like that. And that's the closest match that Shay's found. Well, that you guys have found. All of you found. Sorry. Kept putting this on her. This was a group effort.
Place to look. If we have something still left to do in these 6 months.
You can also, if you're curious, actually link you to that session.
I'm also interested to know, and if we don't have any information about this, that's fine. I'm just kind of trying to remember or figure out what was previously known. We also have a black hole in Artemis.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the one I want to go to.
Is there anything interesting about that black hole that's known to Raza?
Not really. In fact, Artemis doesn't have any planets orbiting it.
That's the one with the mothership thing, though.
It is. So yes, that's interesting.
It would be worth going back and asking them to how long they go back, if that's an option.
How long they what?
How long they have they been there? How many thousands of years or something? Or was it just since the Scream? That was the station that had the murderous AI, right?
Yes, the murderous AI that Raza still has packed up
somewhere.
Yes.
Okay. That'll be
The defensive military platform AI happened to be murderous against you because it was defending against you.
Oh yeah. And we were like, oh, this will be fine. Okay, anyways. Yeah, I don't feel as interested, but
So that puts another option on the table for you, is to explore Tiamat 77-7.
I'd be really concerned if, that area is safe from a loop. If the Union is building a fleet there.
Yeah, that's kind of a scary implication.
Yeah, right? I mean, that's exactly what I was thinking. Oh, yeah, let's just do this in Audrima. I was like, oh, wait, they were already thinking of that.
Well, I think, again, as much as it is obviously correct to try to leave as much for the next team as possible, right? We should try to accomplish something in the 6 months that this team has left, other than just becoming a space library.
Yeah, see what a black hole looks like.
And let me also put hopefully to assuage any concerns about that fleet. The space station, or not station, the shipyard, Union's shipyard, was farther out than the mechs have told you is basically the time horizon in Audrima.
But for all we know, it scales differently in that system.
That's a possibility.
It could be related to the gravity well of the central body.
Could be, but the gravity wells should be the same. They're
how soon it finds mass in the first place, and if they don't find any, closer in, they'll find it later.
Okay, so TMT 77-7, it's not just the planet that has similar mass to Mactora, it is the black hole has similar mass to Audrima.
Correct.
The
Oh.
orbital distance is similar.
The orbital distances are similar.
That seems like it would be a waste of time not to look at this point.
Further coinciding, the 3-day period that is open for metaspace, that is allows metaspace travel to Tiamat 77-7, is right around the timing of the pulse.
Yeah, so it's got
And-
something to do with this system, whatever it turns out that it is,
It's-
that it has to do with it.
Bit of a coincidence, huh?
A little bit
Bit
more
too
than
much
I
of a
suspect.
coincidence one, yeah. Regarding that travel, is it limiting? Does that prevent you from leaving to 77-7?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Well, then we'll have to time that very carefully if we go
Yeah,
there.
especially since there's a Union fleet there.
I don't really feel like being
you
trapped
know-
in space.
No, I can't remember. I think we passed a note to Galactic Mandate about that activity, right? Or did we not do anything with that information?
I believe you did inform Galactic Mandate. Yes.
Okay.
They fortified the arrival location from Tiamat 77-7 to Korafali.
Gotcha.
And it's also worth noting that Korafali was the only place you could jump from to Tiamat 77-7. At least according to the information from Ferrotinero.
So, who's up for flying to a black hole?
It seems hard to escape the conclusion that that's what we should do.
See, Marcus was right all along. You just needed to listen.
It's as hard to
Sure, that's
escape that
one way we could
conclusion.
look at that.
It's as hard to escape that conclusion as it is to actually escape from a black hole.
Exactly.
Okay, so it sounds like you would like to explore Tiamat 77-7.
Good lead as
Yes.
any.
Okay, you're currently. Why am I on a new page? Oh well. The most recent pulse, or the next pulse, is sorry, the most recent pulse was 429. You're currently May 5th. I was wrong when I said you're middle of May, April. You were at the beginning of May. You've been here for about a day. You've definitely got time to make it down to Orifale before the next window. I think you do.
It's about 3 weeks away, right?
It should only be about if you take some risks with your drills, you could make it in 2 jumps. One to Zenthra.
The pulse, I mean. The pulse is about 3 weeks
Oh,
away.
yes. Yeah, sorry, it is, yeah. It is 22 days away. So, yeah, about 3 weeks.
I mean, even if we take it slow boat, we can make it to Korafali in 12 days, give or take. I mean, stopping for fuel a couple of times, it's still 15 days.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll have no problem getting there before the next pulse.
That was just me working out the timing. I don't have any more to add than that.
I mean, do we have anything else we want to do before that? Or other than that?
$150.
Because it sounds like essentially what's happened here is that the available mission slate is replaced with, what are you going to do about this thing?
Yeah, it's literally just what do you want to do?
It's more about what he exactly what Ben said. And
So
if you
what
guys,
else do we want to do?
Marcus wants to go die in a black hole. But for
Okay, you can do that in
purposes,
6 months. Before then, what do you want to do?
go have a look at a black hole. I mean, it's
Let-
one, then we can go look at the Artemis black hole.
So where is the Raza? They're at Bird right now. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Do the mech have better rudders for getting in and out of Audrima?
They do not. You guys have the best rudder.
And that goes to Asglade. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I have to assume, given they're not super interested in leaving, that that's, just sort of internally consistent.
I was thinking it would be handy if we could swing through Bird. But what we probably should do then is swing through Zenthra and at least document what we have found so far so that there's a record left both here at Audrima and at Zenthra in the event that events, on our sector-wide gallivanting don't go according to plan.
I would be interested to be a fly on the wall when our message to command is, we have determined that the universe is going to end in 6 months. We're going to do whatever we think is important until then. It comes through. That's for sure.
And what else would you suggest?
I mean, I could think of better ways to phrase it, but yeah.
As long as we don't tell the other worlds that everything's going to, reset in X amount of time, so nothing matters anymore.
So we shouldn't even explain
Triggering-
ourselves to command.
Triggering a mass panic across
Can't tell anyone.
sector-wide before everything implodes. I know, we definitely tell command. Yeah, there's one then. So what do we as players want to do? Is the better question. Do we want to go investigate one of these black holes? Do we want to try and wait for the next pulse to then see if we can get further readings? Do we want to go get the Raza to test that?
Before
what do we...
That's a great question, Ben. But before we get into that, I actually, if you guys don't mind a short session, would like to get into that review-like discussion that I had intended for the end of the session. If there's time left after that, we can certainly jump back in. I don't mind that. But let me pull us out now and have that discussion, if you're okay with that.
Go for it.
Anyone object?
Go nuts.